What's going on, guys? It's Ryan from Hold Your Applause, and today we're doing a solo video. So me and Jackson talked it over, and obviously doing monthly morning media is great, but we also want the channel to grow, so we're gonna be doing solo videos in between. So we're cooking up all kinds of spicy content for you guys. So today I'm gonna be showing you my complete vinyl collection. Now, a couple things to keep in mind here. One, So as I was saying, there are a couple things to consider. One, my collection's pretty small. I've only been collecting for maybe a year tops, so I don't have that many. They're also pretty expensive, as any vinyl collector out there would know. So I'm trying to buy as little as possible, but only get the ones that like I'm married to, you know, that I love, albums that I've listened to for a really long time. Or I don't know, just special occasions. But the point is, I don't buy much vinyl. So when I do, it's either really cheap or it's something I've had my eye on for quite some time. So without further ado, I think we should just get into it. I'm not going to be going in like super in depth to like every vinyl, because then, you know, if I did that with every record, this video would be like 2 hours long. But I do have it's like an okay collection, so we'll just kind of go through it kind of briefly, just give my brief thoughts about each vinyl, and yeah. Let's do it. So starting off, I am a pretty big hip hop guy, so I actually picked this up a couple days ago at my work. It's In the Club by 50 Cent. It's the single, so it's got the clean version and the dirty version on one side, and then the instrumental on the other. But yeah, 50 Cent, he's the dude, he's the man, so gotta have this one. Other 50 Cent vinyl, PIMP or Pimp, depending on how you say it. Same case as the other one, clean, dirty on one side, instrumental on the other. But this is another classic song, Get Rich or Die Trying. You know, it's been said before, but it's one of the best hip-hop albums of all time, especially coming right out of the gate. You know, no one had traction like 50 did back when he released that. Oop, don't want to lose that vinyl there. But yeah, seriously, one of the best albums of all time. Now, honestly, once I'm just going to sell these, because I'm going to Get Rich or Die Trying on vinyl at some point, but gotta have it. So if you watched our first monthly morning media, you would know that I picked this as my favorite album that I listened to for that month, and it's one of my favorite albums of all time. It's the only Beatles album I own. My dad has all of them, so I listened to them on vinyl when I was a kid, but I got my own copy, and I don't know if you can see or if it's in focus. That says 99.99. This is an original pressing that I got when I was visiting Florida a couple months back with my girlfriend, and this was my souvenir. This album is just, it's nuts. It's literally one of the best albums of all time. Beatles are not just any genre. This is just an incredible album. One of my favorites. Yes. So next up, we got The Crow soundtrack. The really good movie, one of my favorites. It's like a cult classic, but this soundtrack is an absolute banger. Next, we got another movie soundtrack, this time all instrumental though, for The Dark Knight, composed by Hans Zimmer. It's Batman. It's one of my favorite movies, like my fourth favorite movie. Opens up like that, and it's a really good soundtrack. And the vinyl itself, I'm not gonna do this with all of them, like I said, I'm going pretty fast, but it's cool. It's there's two vinyls, or two LPs rather, and then one of them is purple with green splatter, and the other one is green with purple splatter. So pretty cool. I like it a lot. I also picked this up when I was in Florida, along with the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's. So yeah, really good purchase. Sounds really good on vinyl. Can't say I listened to it a lot, but it looks really cool. It's a good display piece. So The Dark Knight. Here we have my newest addition to my vinyl collection, Dr. Dre's 2001. I mean, I'm sure you picked it up from the first two 50 Cent vinyls, but I am a huge hip-hop guy, especially old school. Not a fan of mumble rap at all, so don't come at me in the comments with recommendations for any Lils or whatever. But I'm into the good stuff, the original, the OG stuff, and this album is just perfect. It's so good. It's classic, you know, Dr. Dre. It's just, you got Eminem on here too, a couple other features, Snoop Dogg. I mean, so many of Dre's classics are off this album. This is just, it's one of my favorite hip-hop albums of all time. It's hands down my favorite Dr. Dre album of all time. And seeing the Super Bowl halftime show this year just solidified my purchase when I saw this in stores. All right, here we go. As I've stated in videos before, Eminem is my favorite artist of all time, not just rapper. artist, period. He got me into music, like just music in general, not any particular genre. I'm obviously hip hop, but just I owe so much to this man. So I'm trying to collect all of his music on vinyl. So starting things off, he got the Slim Shady LP, the extended edition. This was his first studio album, and it's actually a that's falling out. There's a poster there, but it's a trifold, so opens up like that, and you got M on the back there, Slim Shady. But yeah, this is just such a great album. One of my favorites of his, so had to pick it up. Then this right here, I think besides Sgt. Pepper's, at least I paid the most for that. This might be my favorite album in my collection. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. Maybe my favorite Eminem album. I don't know. Just from start to finish, there's like not any skips on here. So it's just it's one of the best. Absolutely adore this album. Then I also picked this up a couple days ago at work with those 50 Cent albums. It's Business. This is a single off the song off of the one I just showed you. But yeah, huge Eminem guy, so had to pick this up. It was relatively cheap, and yeah, figured why not. Then we got Relapse, Eminem's probably his most critically trashed album. I really like it. I think it's really good. It's definitely not my favorite of his. I mean, Eminem himself has like talked about how this sits at the bottom of his trash, you know, in some songs, and he's basically he's dissed it multiple times. But personally, I've always really liked this album. He's got some kind of weird. He uses weird accents in the album throughout multiple tracks, but overall I really like it. It works for me. It's not for everyone, but I saw it in stores and I bought it, you know, and I'm happy with my purchase. Then we have Recovery. This used to be my favorite Eminem album of all time. This album came to me at a point in my life where I really needed it. I've been listening to it since I was a kid, but I was going through some pretty tough stuff in high school, and I remember that this album in particular really got me through some tough times. So I owe, again, another reason why I owe so much to Eminem, but this album is just so good. I love it with all my heart. It's one of my favorites of all time. It's not my favorite Eminem album anymore, but it's just an absolute banger, and it means so much to me. Finishing out my Eminem collection, we got Kamikaze. I love this album. I know it's kind of hit or miss with some people. Everything down to how he kind of, you know, paid homage to the Beastie Boys with this album cover. He got permission for that, for anyone being like, oh, he just ripped off the Beastie Boys. Yeah. You know, he got permission. But this album it's angry, it's raw. Yeah, one of my favorites. Then we got Friday the 13th Part 2, the original soundtrack. Kicking it off with another slasher sequel. We got Halloween 2. I like this is actually a really good soundtrack. I don't like it quite as much as Friday the 13th Part 2, but it's great to throw on at like a Halloween party, or just Halloween time in general, spooky season. Then we got Inglourious Bastards, the original soundtrack for this. Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite directors, and me and Jackson actually binged all of his movies, but one of my favorites was Inglourious Bastards. So again, while I was in Florida, I saw this and I had to pick it up. So it's pretty cool. Opens up, but I will be showing you the actual vinyl itself, because in this particular case, the vinyl's really cool again. So let me just get this out. Look at that. Blood Red LP. It's pretty awesome. Next up, we got Machine Gun Kelly's Tickets to My Downfall. I used to be really into MGK in high school, and a little bit after. Recently, I'm not crazy about his newer stuff, but I did like his punk rock phase, and I do really like this album still. Not as much as I used to, but it's a really good album overall. Cool artwork and stuff, and I also will be showing you this one because it's also colored. It is bright pink, which is pretty cool. So I do wish this was the deluxe edition of the album, because there's a couple songs on there like Can't Look Back, and Hangover Cure, and other songs that I really like that aren't on this album. This is just the regular release, but still really good. Next up, we got one of the best hip hop albums of all time, Illmatic by Nas. Not super into Nas, like I really like his music, but I haven't listened to all of it. But this album I've listened to on repeat multiple times, countless times. It's just one of my favorite hip hop albums, one of my favorite albums in general. New York State of Mind in particular, it's just an absolute banger. You can throw it on anytime. It's also a pretty short album. It's only about an hour, maybe less, to listen to, so it's easy to keep it on loop, and I've always loved a little cigarette burn there. But yeah, this great album, classic, essential, gotta have it. Next up, we got 9 Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine. I actually showed this off in last monthly morning media, but this is one of my favorite 9 Inch Nails albums. In fact, I think it is. Downward Spiral is like really close second, maybe tied. But overall, this was like the album that got me into their music, so I think it'll always be my favorite. But love this album so much. Next up, we got Straight Outta Compton by NWA. What can I say that hasn't already been said about this album? Straight Outta Compton, F the Police, so many classic songs off of this album. It's just one of the best. It was one of like the original like gangster rap albums. It's so good. It's classic. I listen to it a lot. Great album. It's a great album. Next we got Picture Plane's Degenerate. So for the next few seconds, I'm going to sound really cool and narcissistic and be like, yeah, I know the guy. I know Picture Plane because he's my cousin. My cousin Travis, he goes by Picture Plane. He's been making music for years, and he makes like EDM music, electronic stuff. And this is my favorite album of his. It's so good. I listened to this all the time in high school, and absolutely, in case he watches this, I don't know if he will, but absolutely I will be showing the inside, the vinyl itself, because look at this thing. That's awesome. That's sick. Look at that shit. That's awesome. Okay? That's so cool. I love this packaging. It's just great. Great album, and I'm not just saying that because he's my cousin, but I'm obviously going to give him a plug. So definitely check out Travis Picture Plane on Spotify, YouTube, whatever, man. Makes great music, and I listen to this all the time, so make sure you check it out. Next, we got Tenet, another movie soundtrack. Not my favorite Nolan film, but maybe my favorite Nolan soundtrack. This soundtrack slaps really hard. It's so good. Ludwig Göransson, I mean, man. This soundtrack elevated the movie to heights that it wouldn't have otherwise reached, in my opinion, without it. But if you open it up, it's got some pretty cool artwork, and if I can flip that there. Look at that. I don't know if that picks up all of it, but look at all that stuff. It's really cool. The vinyls themselves are just black, but my girlfriend got me this when we first started dating, I want to say. So yeah, it's a really good album. Listened to it a good amount, but pretty good movie too. So we got My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. This is one of my favorite hip-hop albums, one of my favorite Kanye albums. It might even be my favorite Kanye album, just start to finish. There's so many songs on here I absolutely love. It's also a tough one to find in terms of finding it in stores and availability. It's a pricey one, but my girlfriend got it for me for Christmas, and so good. So that is gonna do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to check out our next monthly morning media video. That'll be coming out soon. Me and Jackson, like I said, we're working on some new stuff. Got a couple projects we're cooking up, a couple good videos we're gonna be coming your way. So make sure to stay tuned for those. And as always, make sure you guys like this video. And if you like what you see here, make sure to subscribe. And that way, we'll see you guys soon. Peace.